Okay. So thank you very much to Roxanne for uh, allowing me to present on this platform. Thank you for everyone that's here and everyone who might watch it later. Um, just a few things to start off. I am not a medical doctor. This is always a disclaimer that we need to put out when we are energy healers and energy practitioners, that we don't interfere with the medical realm. Especially dealing with something like hormones, because hormones run everything in the body. All right, so I am going to drop in the chat a link. Roxanne did send out a link in the announcement to a couple dowsing charts. There we go. And this link will take you to my OneDrive. There's the speaking handout presentation notes and a list of hormones in there that I use. Also, the hormone list that I have, it's been compiled. It's not completely accurate. It's not conclusive. It is just a reference to being used. And it's good to know that we don't need to know everything. Our higher self, our body knows more than we do. So dowsing is a way to tap into that knowledge and to be able to work with ourselves and with our clients in order to balance hormones and find any other energy blocks as well. I'm going to close out the chat so I'm not getting confused and distracted there. Okay, there we go. So, all right. There we go. So, with the hormone list that I have, I'll just give you a little background on my experiences. I originally started out with thought field therapy techniques. These days, you'll probably hear more about EFT tapping. Thought field therapy techniques was from Dr. Roger Callahan. It is the original tapping techniques, and it's algorithms and tapping on energy meridians. So that was one of the first energy related kind of courses that I took. And I learned about the energy meridians and tapping on those in a certain sequence in order to release blocks. Then I got into Reiki. Reiki is it's got its own wisdom. It's a healing energy, and it is absolutely wonderful for releasing a whole lot of blocks and getting you balanced. And in your body, there's just a lot of wonderful things about Reiki. Then I got into emotion code, and that has become very well known across the world now. Emotion code, body code, and belief code now. I was certified in emotion code back in 2011. That is kind of the basis of what I do. Although if you go on my booking, I call it general energy clearing because I got certified in emotion code, which is basically 60 emotions in a chart. And then I bought the body code system back in 2016, which has now upgraded. And there's a whole lot of things on an app with that now. And they've also got books out with that. But the premise behind that is that we're tapping into the energy body and finding blocks, usually emotions. But with all the experiences and all the things that I've read and some of the trainings that I've taken, I am constantly picking up new terminology, all those kind of things. So I have that as a background in finding what kind of blocks are behind something. And so in several modalities, you may find a touching on hormones. What I've done is just taken a full list of hormones, and then you ask the body what is if whatever issues you have, because as you know, most times we're not working with diagnoses. The human mind, the human body doesn't really recognize human or diagnosis. That's more of a medical term, a set of traits, and you get this diagnosis or this pill. With energy healing, you're tapping into the energy body And we do have the physical, we have the mental, emotional, spiritual, etheric. We've got all these levels of consciousness, and you can find blocks on all of those levels. So when it comes to hormones, I originally heard about hormones because with emotion code, body code, that's always my go-to reference, because we have a private practitioners group for emotion code, body code, and they are not affiliated with Discover Healing, but the common ground is certification in emotion code and or body code. And so in that group, a lot of times you go into a group with a certain modality and you only talk about that modality. But energy healing, it's so widespread, and there's so many different techniques and so many different modalities. And that particular group is the reason that I got into so many other different trainings and different knowledge and modalities and stuff. And so we had an epigenetist and another longtime practitioner that put together a list of hormones. So I don't know, it's probably about 15 years ago that the first time that I had a list. The Facebook group, tongue-tied here, is TEC group, TEC practitioners. And you have to submit a certification for emotion code or body code in order to be allowed into that group. Anyway, back to somebody had supplied a list of hormones, and it was just the names of hormones, not even really the functions of them. And so that's interesting, because the way I work with my clients and with myself, a lot of times I just have words or lists, and I like doing things that way, and just intuit which one I need. And then sometimes I'll go look up, and this is what I did with the original hormone list, is I had a list, and I played around with it. Now, at the time, I had a lot of female issues. I had a couple friends that had thyroid issues. A couple other people I knew that had sleep issues. Now, these are some things that hormones are very much, you can target with hormones. So what I had done originally was, which hormone do I need to balance for myself or for this person? And just intuit whatever blocks come up. And the blocks can be pretty much anything, because your imagination is limitless, depending on whatever modalities you're tuning into, which is hard for me to actually separate which modality I'm using, because everything kind of conglomerates together. So, but then I mean, we all know testosterone, and we all know estrogen, thyroxine 4, maybe not so much known, but melatonin. These are some hormones that pretty much everybody knows. But there's other ones like the thyroxine 4 that I've learned, and I'll bring that one up. They function in the body in certain ways, and they address certain things. And so I had balanced these hormones originally, and then I went and looked up the function of these hormones. Like, that makes sense, because that's exactly the issues that these people were having. And so that was my original thing with hormones. Now, as time goes on, and I've been working with clients, and I'm working with myself, my family, and everything, I picked up a lot more things about hormones. So I don't memorize the list. I've got a lot of things that I have picked up and learned over the years. But yeah, I don't need to know everything about the hormones, but it's wonderful to have a list. And for me as a dowser, I do douse. For me, I follow Raymond Grace quite a bit, and he's kind of my go-to for how to douse. Originally, I was just taught, just get a baseline, tune into the energy, and you can get your answers that way. And for me, a pendulum is just a tool. It doesn't have, energies of its own. You can get a whole different topic into that with, different rocks or different shapes or whatever have meanings behind them. For me, I have a simple little light pendulum, and it's just a tool. It kind of confirms what's going on in my head, what I'm intuiting. Also, for me, Roxanne had to just put in some subteal dowsing circles into the announcement, and I dropped those into that link as well. You can find that. And I do have a lot of the circular kind of dowsing things, and you can use them using your pendulum over the chart and to figure out where your pendulum is going and bring up hormones that way, or whatever topic you're using. For me personally, I prefer lists. I work quickly with those. So you'll find that the hormone list that I have here, there's 108, I believe, on here. It's quite, yeah, there's 108 on there. And they're just listed in alphabetical order. And I did fill in, I had a whole lot of them that didn't have it filled in. And so they are filled in now, most of them, to give you an idea what those hormones focus on or their function. So for me, ask a question, whatever hormone that I need to go to, and is it 1 to 10, 20 to 10 to 20? Okay, I'm needed in 10 to 20, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's the hormone that I need to go to for whatever function I'm looking for. So that's kind of how I work within a session with a client. If there's a certain issue coming up, sometimes I'll automatically go, if they got sleep issues, I'll go to melatonin or tryptophan. Those are ones for sleep. If they got thyroid issues, you would go to the T3 and T4. Blood sugar, there's insulin and glucagon. So I have listed also in the notes just some bucket things, different issues that people might have, and what hormones might come up under that topic. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and that's that list. Yeah, some of these ones, simple hormone category, stress and survival, blood sugar metabolism, sleep and recovery, reproductive and hormone balance, thyroid and energy regulation, fluids, minerals, and heart connection. Originally, I didn't have those things. I've just kind of learned them along the way and put those together now. But originally, I just had the list of hormones. So some of the things, back to my things here. So what exactly are hormones? Hormones are chemicals that coordinate different functions in your body by carrying messages through your blood to your organs, skin, muscles, and other tissues. These signals tell your body what to do and when to do it. Hormones are essential for life and for your health. So how I work with hormones is I ask what percent a hormone or function or system is functioning at. That's a good point to know, because some of our hormones, I always kind of default to estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Testosterone is more of a male hormone. Estrogen and progesterone are more of a female hormone, depending on which one is higher and what you're, which one you're identifying as a female or a male. But we have all of those hormones, whether we are male or female. Repost the, if you go into the link there, Howard, right here, you should be able to download the charts in there. There we go. Okay. So some hormones flow high, some flow low, some even can be in excess or way too low. So I ask what they're functioning at. What percent of a function, a hormone or system is functioning at. Identify the blocks, whether it might be a miasm, or Sandy's on the call. If you go back in some of her videos, she's kind of the expert on allergies and intolerances. Tom Hines is a body code practitioner, and he's got a website with a whole lot of webinars that you can go on and learn a whole bunch of things there and find out about energetic blocks there. There's a kind of some of my go-tos. I always recommend Sandy's video on allergies. That comes up quite a bit as an energy block. So yeah, miasms are a family pattern weakness. They're an ancestral thing. Sometimes you can be carrying blocks that aren't even yours. They are coming down the line. There, we post the link again here. There. Okay. So,
Jackie, what's Tom's last name?
pardon me?
Tom's last name that you mentioned.
Oh, Tom Hines. And I've got his website at the bottom, I think. Or it is in my website. If you go into there, I've got a practitioner recommendation page. Oh yeah, here, miasm healersresource.com. There we go. It's on the handout. It's the healersresource.com for Tom Hines, and he's got he's got 10 seasons. So that's how many webinars. And he's got stuff on miasm, he's got stuff on allergies, just all sorts of energetic blocks. So if you're new to dowsing, you may need to develop your intuition and a little more experience in order to, find more. But you can do a lot just with the hormone list, and, do what I did when I first started, is just practice. What hormone do I need to balance for myself or for whoever? So yeah, I use dowsing and intention-based clearing to restore balance. And the goal is to bring the body back into optimal function and homeostasis. Okay. Now, hormones do fluctuate naturally throughout the day and over time. Even when balanced in a session, new stressors or underlying patterns can influence them again. And we know that with energy healing, everything comes off in like an onion in layers. So you may have one session, balance things and release something, and then it'll come up again another time. But as we all also know, is that whatever you have released in one session, that is gone. If something is brought up again that's similar or the same, it is another layer of it, not necessarily the same thing. So, all right. So, as mentioned, you can have stress and trauma. Stress can trigger excess cortisol and adrenaline. Sometimes we can just neutralize the excess to balance. Flight or fight responses can shut down digestion and cause stomach issues. If you go through my website or my YouTube channel, I've got a whole lot of information to follow up and more on that. I had taken biology, I had taken different classes and courses and all sorts of things. And I finally put it together that the reason that if you have trauma, that you have stomach issues, quite often presenting with people who have got a lot of trauma, it's because when your flight or fight goes off, there's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn now. When that response goes off, it is a natural response that is supposed to be there, and it's supposed to get you out of danger. When you have too much stress going on, it breaks the system basically, and you end up in a high anxiety state, and your stomach, in order for that fight or flight to go off, it shuts down your digestion to put your energy towards adrenaline so you can get out of danger or whatever you need to do. So it shuts down your digestion. So that keeps happening, and you have digestive issues, and you keep having to eat because you need fuel, and then everything just goes haywire. So that's some of the things with stress. So many hormones link back to unresolved stress or trauma. Now, thyroxin 4, that's one that I always like to bring up. It's an interesting one because it is the T4 hormone in your thyroid, and your thyroid is in your throat chakra. So the throat chakra is about having the confidence to speak up, or speaking your truth. Quite often, just my own theory, as I've worked with clients all um, over time, I have noticed that people who have had thyroxine 4 come up, and whatever imbalance is there, quite often it's that they've been stifled, or have had some other block that has prevented them from speaking their truth, and or from being able to speak, like after an argument or something like that, that'll go off, and then you got your thyroid hormones going haywire, and then your thyroid goes all out. So yeah. DMT is an interesting one, and I do have on the handout with DMT, which, how do you pronounce it again? DMT is dimethyltryptamine. It's non-traditional intuitive reference, often associated with spiritual awareness or connection, may come up in sessions where there is a sense of disconnection or self from source. That's always an interesting one. And there is a link there, if you open it up on your computer, to an article that it often comes up in shamanic work, this DMT, kind of like a psychedelic thing. But I have had that hormone come up in times when someone is just disconnected from source. Let's see, digestion and appetite. I have a funny story with a friend that I had many years ago. He was just kind of my guinea pig, and there's just a lot of issues. We'll just say there's a lot of issues there. Anyway, he had been complaining that, he's not eating properly. And it's like, well, you have a lot of other issues going on. And so I was playing around, and I balanced leptin on him, which is to do with your appetite. And so anyway, he was a coworker. We were delivering mail, and he was hungry. So I went and grabbed him a chicken burger, and he'd shown up to work that morning with breakfast, which he hardly ever did. And so I brought him this chicken burger, and he's like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? I ate 2 big bowls of spaghetti last night, and I had breakfast this morning, and now I've got this chicken burger, and I could eat another one. What is going on? And I just kind of smiled at him. He says, did you do something? And I'm like, yes, I balanced leptin. You feel better? I'm like, yes. So it had to do with his appetite. So that's how quickly some things can shift. The cord hormones are interesting as well. And that was another one that was early on that my daughter's friend, she was out of town and actually away from service area. And she managed to send me a message. She says, can you do something? I just need some help. And I didn't know what was going on, but I just tuned in and I balanced her hormones. But I did notice that her cord hormones came up. Corticosterone, cortical releasing hormone, and cortisone. There's a bunch of cord hormones. I just call them the cord hormones. They're all related to pain, and they were quite low function, like 1 or 2. And I'd released the blocks and sent her my notes. And a couple days later, she's like, "Oh, thank you so much." She was having some monthly problems and had a heck of a lot of cramps, and she was actually working out in the bush, and it was quite helpful to be able to balance her hormones and release the cramping pains. So, all right. So, covered all that. You see, C-reacting protein is related to insulin resistance. Irisin is supposed to help with weight release. Actually, in the hormones link that goes to a folder with a bunch of things on hormones, there is a list of hormones in there that are particularly for weight. So if you want to play around with that one. The female hormones, estrogen, progesterone, estradiol, can align with the moon energy and influences that can relieve PMS, menstrual and menopause symptoms. I am at the wonderful age that I've been going through the change of life, a little late apparently, but um, for the ladies in the group, just to relate to this, I was diagnosed in 2019 with fibroids. I've learned a lot of things from German New Medicine with uterine conflicts and all sorts of things with that. But my doctor told me that I had fibroids, and I'm like, oh, what's that? I've learned a lot since then, but I didn't know at the time. And so he had sent me to a specialist. He sent me to a couple ultrasounds and scans and everything, sent me to a specialist. Specialist looks over everything, and he sent me for another scan. And he's like, oh, well, you've got a lot of pain going on. And I'm like, no, I don't even know what's going on. And he's like, well, how's that possible? And I said, I don't know. I balance my hormones. And he said, you do what? So I like doing that to doctors. My regular doctor, he knows the he gave me a scan and everything. He says, go do your witchy stuff on there. And yeah, I have some fun with him. But yeah, you can shut off. And so what ended up happening, the specialist, he was quite intrigued the first time I talked to him, but the next time he had a student in there, so he was all back to the medical stuff. And but it's just interesting because we can work with medical. Obviously, we need them for medical scans and stuff like that. But they decided not to do anything invasive. There's a lot of women that end up having to go for surgery and get that all cleared up and everything. And I haven't had any issues, so they decided not to do anything about it. So for the men, erectile dysfunction. I won't share exactly how I've learned about all those, but balance melanocyte and testosterone, and that can get things going again for you. The other thing that's really, really interesting, and I have a lot of fun with my clients, is to consider the metaphysical connotations with imbalances. So I do have a YouTube video that shows some of my reference books. If you do not have them, the Healing Questions Guide, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, and Ina Segal, The Secret Language of the Body. So that can be a whole other topic, but suffice that you can go look at the YouTube video, Ladybug Wellness YouTube channel, that gives a little bit of reference to those books. Each of those has got a metaphysical connotation. So, for instance, your left side is emotional and feminine. Your right side is logic, finance, masculine, that kind of thing. And then, such as your knees, they are flexibility or bowing to authority. Your index finger is leadership. There are, your feet. You can find things above your feet, on your feet, under your feet. Your feet are about moving forward. So whatever imbalances you find, you can relate that, and you can figure out what's going on in somebody's life by the imbalances that come up. Here we go. So lanosterone, Sandy, if you're listening to this one, lanosterone is on my list, but it is not a hormone. It is actually lanosterol is a non-FDA approved drug. It has been shown to reverse protein aggregation of cataracts in some controlled experiments, which may lend way to the innovation of other surgery-free cataract treatments. It is not a hormone, but it is included on my list as it may come up intuitively in sessions. And this is associated with eye health. And so the way that it has come up in my sessions, it's maybe related to energy blocks around seeing clearly or a resistance to seeing the future. So that's an interesting thing when you tie the medical terms and the metaphysical connotations and put it all together in releasing blocks. Metabolism dysfunction, that is an interesting one that I have taken biology. I can never properly explain the whole ATP thing. It's about your energy though, but protein, it breaks down the protein, and there's essential salts, there's selenium, calcium, magnesium, and potassium. And in the original list of miasms, sulfur metabolism had come up. And what I've learned over time, I had a guy that was a hunter years ago, and he had stomach issues, and sulfur metabolism came up for him, meaning that he had issues with processing meat and protein, which was his diet, and he had good healthy meat, but sulfur metabolism was causing a problem. So metabolism dysfunction I've had come up as a block with some of these hormones as well. So whether it's sulfur, magnesium, potassium, there can be all sorts of things there. Apoptosis dysfunction. So apoptosis is a process in your body that when you have a lot of cells, so your whole body regenerates, right? Everything regenerates, and it's got certain time periods of each part of your body regenerating over a certain amount of time. So your cells constantly regenerate, and the die-offs, they are supposed to flush out. So if your lymph system is not working properly or immune system is not working properly, and you need to balance the pH of your lymph fluid or whatever's going on there, this is supposed to help with the apoptosis and get those cells flushing out, because on an energetic point of view, which and translates to physical, when the cells are not flushing out properly, you end up getting them backed up. They end up turning into tumors, and they end up with the big C word. So that's the energetic background on the big C word. So we can get our hormones balancing and get the apoptosis functions working properly and get everything flushing it properly. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I read a lot of stuff, read articles. I connect with a lot of other practitioners who have got wonderful backgrounds in something different. And I am constantly learning. There's a lot of times that I read an article and some word will jump out at me, and I'll go look up that word, and it's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to add that to my little master list of terminologies, and that can come up as an energy block. Okay. So environmental toxins. This is an interesting topic. I took a toxin course years ago when I did all the tapping information. And there is a little energetic fix that we learned then. But the topic was on individual energy toxins. And I learned a lot then that there are 4 major brands, which since this is being recorded, you can ask me later, but there are 4 major brands that are loaded with chemicals, and they're all endocrine disruptors. So they are the major brands of laundry detergents, furniture sprays, and air fresheners. I'll just leave it at that. But those things, I had a client just a couple of years ago. She was sick, her partner was sick, the cats were sick, just everybody was sick. And I get on Zoom with her and I'm like, do you have air fresheners in your house? Oh yeah, we have this certain brand and we have them all over the house. And I'm like, get rid of them now, get them out of the house. And she got a hold of me about a week later and she goes, what a difference getting those things out. I'm like, yeah, because they were disrupting your hormones. And so, yes, Substances such as heavy metals, chemical exposures are often referred to as endocrine disruptors and may interfere with the body's natural hormone imbalance or hormone balance. These can be found in synthetic fragrances, perfumes, air fresheners, scented products, personal care products, lotions, shampoos, cosmetics. Um, that's a hard one for some people if they like their, body washes and stuff like that. Of course, they smell nice, but your skin is taking in everything that you are breathing, you're putting on your skin, all of that. And they can disrupt your hormones. Cleaning products, plastics and food packaging, pesticides and environmental toxins. So these are all things to be aware of that will affect your hormones. So these substances may mimic, block, or alter hormone function in the body. And in sessions, these may come up as an energetic sensitivity or imbalance related to environmental exposure. And there's more. I've got a page in my website on energy toxins, so you can read up more on that. So back to miasms. Miasm is a family pattern weakness. I've found that almost anything can be a miasm. Whatever an issue is presenting with, I ask if it is a miasm. More often than not, it is. So originally, miasm is mentioned in body code, and it's just a simple explanation of an ancestral blockage. The original list that we had of miasms in the TEC group, it was mostly a suppressed disease energy is what it was explained then. Yeah, somebody's saying sunscreen, a friend with melanomas was told to stop using them. Yeah, I don't use sunscreens myself. So miasms, they used to be known as, tuberculosis, which there's an energy of it. The example that I used to use there was leprosy. Leprosy, we know, was an age-old disease. It was very contagious, and you're ousted to the outside of the community. The energy that comes down, you may not necessarily have leprosy as described, but the energy that comes down is isolation. Okay, so there's a few other ones. I think tuberculosis is change. Syphilis is destruction, I think it is, but there's a few of them. But that was our original list for miasms. But back in 2020 or so, a couple of our practitioners, including Tom Hines, who's got some more, he's got full videos all about miasms and everything. Pretty much any family pattern, a quirk can be a family pattern that is coming down, and you're carrying ancestral blocks that aren't even yours. They come from way back on your lineage. So that's a good thing to know, as that can be a block to your hormones as well. Some suggested questions when you're working with hormones. Are there hormones that are imbalanced, happy, not functioning optimally? Is the body utilizing, absorbing, or all hormones it is producing? Is the body being triggered to produce too much or not enough of the hormone at some point during the day? And is there an organ or gland or chakra that is causing issues with hormones? Is there any other question that I should ask affecting hormones? Are the hormones supporting each other? And are all aspects of hormonal system synchronized? Are those questions in the link you shared? They are on the handout that says Ladybug Wellness Hormones Presentation Handout Notes. There we go. Okay, so once you find the question, you find the hormone that you're working with, ask the function of the hormone, find the block or whatever you need to know in order to balance that hormone, ask for it to be balanced. A simple intention is, I ask to balance and regulate my hormones to their most appropriate levels, supporting healthy sleep, metabolism, emotional stability, digestion, and overall well-being. A longer intention is to ask to balance and regulate my hormones to their most appropriate levels to produce youthful skin and tissues, deep restorative sleep, regulate body temperature to the most appropriate level, regulate metabolism to return the body to its healthiest weight, regulate blood pressure and heart rate to its healthiest levels, strengthen and maintain healthy bones, regulate and maintain healthy blood sugar levels, normalize emotional impulses, and restore the digestive system and increase the metabolization of water and nutrients and restore thyroid function. So generally, I tend to go with the shorter one, unless you like to have the long ones.
Jackie, I have a
Yes.
question on that.
Yeah.
Have you found that there's a difference in effectiveness between saying one piece of your intention and waiting for the pendulum to indicate that it's done that before you go on to the next one, or just have the whole blanket thing at once?
Um, mm, Generally, I go with the shorter one. And I think more times that I have done this with a longer intention, I have programmed that that is what I mean when I say something.
Okay.
And I know the reason that you're asking about this. If you go onto Roxanne's website, she has got a master dowsing list. And I actually downloaded that after she had her Tucson talk back in February of 2025. And it's an 8-page document, and you go through and you read an intention, and you have your pendulum show when that is done. And then you go through the whole list, and you basically program your pendulum and yourself that when you say, I now commence I say this pretty much every day. What's my blank? Commence all relevant commands in the Master Dowsing program as appropriate for myself right now. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I use that at the beginning of every one of my sessions now. So thank you very much for that. So yeah, you can read off an intention, wait until that's done. If you work with me as a client, you'll know that I chatter quite a bit. And so sometimes when things are clearing, I'll tell you a whole story in between. Some of my clients appreciate it. Somebody just book by email.
There's a joke, and that reminds me of.
Yeah. So there's some more links to check out. When I work with a client, I work with a divine filter. Basically, instead of there's a lot of modalities that ask you to step into your client's energy. I find that kind of invasive. And, you know, if you learn all these things that I've learned from Court of Atonement and mixing energies, I don't like doing that. So I intend to connect with a client instead of straight across. You connect through God, higher power, whatever you consider your source, and connect through a divine filter that way. And that way you get more accurate information, and you're not mixing energies that way. I've got a definitions page in there. There's more about ancestral trauma, the definitions. Oh, I got that on there twice. Okay. And my website has got over 200 pages. I've got a YouTube channel. Pretty much anything that has ever helped me throughout my life. My backstory is in there as well. And yeah, there we go. I think that covers pretty much everything that I was going to speak about today. So I am going to pause the recording.